Would you say that we are currently operating in crisis mode? Are you operating in crisis mode in the Comptroller's office?
I think so. I've said before, our office performs triage every day when we manage paying all these bills. We are getting 5,000 phone calls a week into our budget hotline. And really, people need to understand that we're out of money in this state, and we don't technically ever really run out of money because every day we get more money in from revenues, tax revenues throughout the state, retail sales tax revenues and income tax payments that are quarterly payments. But every day we run out of money because we pay what we can, and then the next day we wait for more, so we pay more bills. We have $7 billion in bills we can't pay right now. So it's time to really stop spending and get a budget in place.
We need to get your reaction to some comments that came out last night from former Governor Jim Edgar, who is a Republican, and some pretty harsh comments about Governor Rauner and the way he's handled the situation. Again, I know these are fresh. I don't know if you've heard them. We'll play it for you here. This is former Governor Jim Edgar talking last night.
We can't hold the budget hostage for other issues. Governor talks about economic turnaround. I think some of his proposals are good. But I think we have to set priorities, and the priority, I believe, is the budget.
So the former governor there pretty much saying the governor is holding the budget hostage. I mean, he said that directly, holding the budget hostage to get his turnaround agenda in place. I know we've asked you this question in the past, Comptroller Munger, but do you think the governor should stand firm on his requests for some reforms as long as we're going to go along with a new budget and increased revenue?
Well, I certainly agree that we have to get a budget in place quickly, and the budget should be the priority. However, the problem is right now that as a result of decades of bad financial decisions in our state, we are at a situation where we cannot simply just raise taxes and get out of this problem. We have $7 billion of unpaid bills right now. We have 10% of the state's promises, higher education payments, student math grants, et cetera, that we're not even funding. And we're looking at being at somewhere in total $12 to $13 billion behind on what is owed by the end of the calendar year. If we just raise taxes, which is, I think, kind of what certainly the legislature's put on the table, which I might note they could just pass on their own right now. If that was what they wanted to do, they have a supermajority, they could get together and they could pass that. If we just raise taxes, we will have to raise our tax rate to somewhere between 7 and 8% in order to get out of this mess because it's gotten so bad. And we all know, and certainly those of you up in Rockford certainly have seen businesses pick up and move out of state or job losses as a result of raising taxes to beyond what is reasonable in Illinois. So, it puts us in a doom loop and makes it harder for us to get out of this. I think, what Governor Rauner has said is that we have to look at more things. We have to put in place some conditions for economic growth. I support that because I think it's going to be really the only way we're going to get our state on a path to eventually have the kind of revenues that we need without just taxing businesses and people out of our state to be able to pay down this debt that we've accumulated.
So just to be clear quickly, you would not and you are not saying to the governor, look, drop your agenda, drop your requests, just get something done so we have a budget. You would not say that.
What I have been saying is that everyone has to get together. The leaders in the legislature and the governor have to get together in a room, and they have to all lock arms and work on a negotiated solution. And I believe that everyone's going to have to give to get a budget in place. But I don't think taxes only are a solution because the problem is just too big. And frankly, if the governor were just to focus on the budget specifically without any reforms figured in, there are so few things that you can actually cut in the budget the way it is put together. Pensions take up 20% of our state's budget now. Medicaid payments take up over 25% of our state's budget. Our interest on our debt right now is over $2 billion a year. We're looking at over half of our state's budget in total, the revenues that we anticipated coming in, just in those three things. We've already signed the education bill. That's another big chunk. There's not enough to cut. And so, it's going to take a different approach. And a lot of these things are protected under law in statute by the legislature. So what they sent him is a bill that he can't cut enough to balance. They've consistently passed budgets that are just frankly unbalanced year after year, and now we have, backlog of bills of $7 billion. It's just not sustainable.